Most people think of paid media as how many people can I get? The truth of the matter, it really should be how can I eliminate all but the right people? How can I eliminate, how can I discriminate against the people who are not my audience?
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
All right, so I got my man Charles Kirkland on the line. Charles, thanks for joining us, bro.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm really excited about this. I want to give everybody a little bit of context, and you can fill in any gaps, but probably the most exciting thing you're doing right now is the Media Buyers Association, right?
Absolutely.
You've got so many members over there. It's a thriving community. It's entrepreneurs who are focused on growth through quality paid traffic. Is that about right?
You have nailed it much better than I could say it.
Sweet, right on. So I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom today, and I'm going to drill right down into some specifics here. So my first question is, when is somebody ready to invest in paid traffic to their offer?
This is probably not going to be what most people want to hear, and I'll just tell you blatantly, they really need to have their offer completely nailed down with the concept of my product, my audience, this is the wants, needs, and desire, and the fears of my audience. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, most people, Kevin, jump in and go, well, you know what? I've got a product, and then they buy traffic. It doesn't work. And the first thing we do is Facebook's got to be the scapegoat for somebody. It's Google's fault, Facebook, that solo email I bought that converted, for other people, nothing works for me. And that's usually a indication when I hear people say, well, nothing works for me. It's indication you don't have your target audience down. Mm-hmm. And that is usually your biggest issue. You have to have that nailed down. I always tell my clients, if you haven't written it out, if you don't have a picture of your avatar printed out, stapled on your desk, keep working on it, because otherwise it'd be like, I'll use this as an example. It's going to be a very slight difference in this. If you came to me and say, Charles, guess what? We've got a special deal on Mercedes-Benz. Well, James Schramko would say, hey, he's that person. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I like Mercedes, but I like Jaguar better. So you could tell me all the details about the Mercedes and it wouldn't make a difference to me. You could speak Jaguars, we're totally different page. The reality of it is it's minute. We're both in the same, everything is the same with the exception of knowing that target audience. And that's where most people, it falls apart.
So if you're thinking that your market is, say, someone who wants a luxury car, but you haven't taken the time to find out whether they're in love with Jaguars or Mercedes, that's the difference.
Absolutely. And I think that's where so many times as marketers, we end up presenting offers to clients and we're making them an offer, which could be an absolutely great offer, but to the wrong person. Mm-hmm. And the best offer to the wrong person doesn't convert. And the problem we run into is with paid traffic, we have the ability to get so niche down and specific. We could say, I want a buyer who makes between $100,000 to $150,000 a year, who likes a BMW, lives in a house that's worth $250,000, has a wife, has a kid under the age of 7, lives in this zip code, and has previously shown, let's just call it an interest in car X, car Y, car Z. Mm-hmm. We can narrow that down, and unfortunately, most people think of paid media as how many people can I get? The truth of the matter, it really should be how can I eliminate all but the right people? How can I eliminate? How can I discriminate against the people who are not my audience? Right, that's really powerful.
Yeah, that's a great statement. So, could you give us one or two tips on how to go about that?
Yeah, the first thing to really do is to understand what is your prospect's pain point. So, if I'm just say I am a 450-pound obese woman who's 45 years old, has 2 kids, whatever the case may be, we often come to these people and we're like, hey, here's how to lose weight, here's how to do this. But, your prospect's probably been struggling to lose weight 40 years. As saying that doesn't really do it. You really have to start looking at, and a classic example is go to Amazon, look at the books people buy, look at the positive comments, look at the negative comments. We need to start going to forums, hanging out, create a profile, start asking questions. And also, if you can, go to other people who are more successful in your niche. So this is where a good example here, if I'm 450 pounds, I'm not going to Beachbody to look at a Brazilian butt lift. I'm not looking at that product. I'm not even looking at PX90. I'm looking, can I walk to the nearest light pole? We often make the mistake of not understand. We understand the end goal the prospect wants: to lose weight, to become healthy, to live to see 50, if that's the case. We often understand that, but we usually don't understand the nuances to how we talk to them, how to relate to them. And we have to go out there, start looking at those things. So go to Amazon, hang out around there, go find a forum, go start looking at products that are marketed to your audience. And it doesn't even have to be your product. It doesn't even have to be in the same niche. A good example, let's go back to Mercedes. If you go to the Mercedes-Benz website, what are the colors they're using? What are the images, the logos? What are they? We often make a mistake and we only look at the words. And I often say it's the spaces between the words that really count. And that's a great example. If we just go to like BMW, go to Mercedes, it doesn't really make a difference. But when you look at that, what are the images they're conveying? What are they telling you subconsciously? Are they selling you luxury? Are they selling you safety? When you look at Volvo, it's always a white Volvo with a mom who's in her 30s with 2 kids in the back in a car seat, and you're the best mom ever because you've got a Volvo. And, it's like the lady down the street with the big Cadillac, man, she's evil. She doesn't care for her kids, And it's funny because, like, subconsciously, we miss out on those cues. And selling to your prospects, you have to understand those cues, the desires, because when you crank up paid traffic, you have the ability to go in and say, I want to target people that have Fords. I want to target people that have Mercedes. I want to target people that have BMWs. You talk to all of those people different.
Right.
And it's even a different mentality. Even though you may have the money for a Jaguar or BMW or Mercedes, you may be, more of a, hey, I would rather spend my money and invest in other places. Those people typically do not respond to the pictures of the luxury jet you and your dog flying on, that kind of stuff, with, luxury jet shares.
Right.
It's all about how you respond and how your prospects perceive you.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so we've used some examples of, actual goods, right? Hard goods. Now, let's say we're an information marketer and we have a new consulting service we want to promote. Okay. And we feel like we know exactly what our audience wants because we've done a little bit of deep dive. Let's say we've done the work to create the avatar you speak of. How is it different to advertise, a consulting service or something like that? Would you come right out and say, hey, let me consult for you, in an ad like that? Or what are the steps to get people to want something like that, like a consultation from a Facebook ad, let's say?
I'm going to tell you, I've got plenty of clients who do this. And the first thing I always do is tell them, go to Inc. Magazine, go to Fast Company and get a media kit. And I know people are always, what in the world? I don't want a media kit. I want buyers. Go get the media kit and double check your desires, what we believe is the core interest in the, core desires of our product. Go run that by a media kit and make sure that when you look at the media kit, if it says that Inc. Magazine is predominantly read by 75% males who make over 120,000 a year, and look at the images they use in the media kit. That's the first thing we need to do, because if you go to the Inc. Magazine media kit, they've got a guy that looks, dude, almost exactly like you, sitting on a bench. And what's interesting, you are their target audience. I am their target audience. We are their audience. And the first thing you want to do is look at that, because if you come off and we create an ad and you're standing by a red Mercedes or, a red Lamborghini or a Ferrari, it's an immediate mental shutdown by my client. It's like, that's not me. That's not who I am. We want to look at what are the images, what are the clothes, what are the background, where are these images taken, and where are they used? The next thing we need to look at is, there's a certain percentage of your prospects who would say, I think, gosh, I can't believe you. Where have you been all my life? I've been wanting to give you large sums of money today. There is that slim percentage of
Hmm.
people like that. Truth matters, we can't really pick out those hyper responders as much as I would like to. So the first thing we need to look at is what are our prospects actually going to resonate with? We have two ways to do it. We can come out and say, I'm a consulting, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. Pay me big bucks. If you already have a brand, you have something where people look at you and go, oh my gosh, that's Kevin. Of course I'd pay him big bucks. He's the guy. That works to that audience. But the reality of it is all of us have a very small, warm audience, and you can run out that audience very quickly. So first thing we want to do is get that media kit, and we want to start looking at what are the titles. Let's get the cover of the magazine. Why if it's important enough to be on the cover of an Inc. magazine, it's important enough that maybe your prospects want to know about it. If you don't want to go grab an Inc. magazine, go to the website, look at their stuff. We need to find out what are they willing to fork over their name, email, and more important, their precious time for. Now, this is where in internet marketing, it's a little skewed. And I know, dude, I'm going to get hate email for this. You might even get hate email for me on this one. In internet marketing things, it's almost a completely different world when you step outside of that is what people will respond to. In internet marketing, you can go to some place that the website looks good, the ad looks good. I don't know you from Adam's house, Cap, but hey, here's my information. Give me a call. That seems to be a little more open in internet marketing. But the reality of it is I'm going to create an article that's going to solve one of the problems that my prospects have. And the problem that it solves has to also lead to my offer as a consultant. So I would end up putting out, let's just make this up, 7 tools every business owner needs. And while that sounds great, it doesn't really get the job done because my dad's a barber. He doesn't need these tools. I have to go a little further. So we may come back and say 7 tools every e-commerce, business owner needs. And we could even go further, 7 key tools every Amazon e-commerce business owner needs. So we would create something like that, some type of lead magnet, anything. The reality of it is it's something that I can put in Facebook, I could put in Google, I could put in MSN, and they wouldn't say, pack this crap up and head back to the amateur camp. See, that's the problem that we have.
Right.
Most people have the squeeze page, which pretty much give me your name, email, or die.
Right.
While I'm not totally opposed to that, it doesn't work everywhere. You can't do that in Google. And when you want to look at paid traffic, we have to certainly look at what is our audience used to seeing, what is the pages they're used to seeing, and where they're used to seeing this at. So we need to basically create a site that looks like it belongs in that place. So when we're creating Google sites, we've got full menus,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I despise having full menus on my landing page. I don't want them on my landing page. Google says we want you to have full menus on your landing page or we're just not going to show your ads.
Right.
So we have to understand that we need to create our ads specifically for the traffic platform we're using. Facebook is pretty much, do you have a pulse and a privacy policy? Valid credit card, you're good. I mean, really, they are pretty loose with that. So we need to make sure that we're creating some kind of content that our prospects will be like, I would have paid for that. Once they get there, they read the article, they consume the article, and we don't do I know this is probably counterintuitive. We don't do, let me send you the download link. No, you opt in and you go to the page to read it.
Yeah.
And because I'll tell you this, I don't download crap.
Yeah.
I don't want to download. And even worse, if I'm on my mobile or my iPad, I'm not putting anything in my Dropbox. So
by the time you get the link or see the email, you're cold on the offer anyway, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we do is pretty much you opt in, or we'll actually send them to literally the content. And hey, if you like a copy of the content, enter your name and email. We'll send that to you at best. But the key is we want to make sure that we've got a call to action in the article. We've got banners in the article. We've got, you land on this page, there's nothing else that you can really do but to consume the content. And if it's right for you, you will set up a consultation.
Yeah.
And see, I think the biggest issue that we look at, I'm not advertising. It's cheaper to advertise content than it is a landing page from a typical squeeze page. So we can go into Facebook all day and get 21 17-cent clicks. I mean, I had a client Monday and they were like, yeah, Charles, these 21-cent clicks are expensive. I'm like, yeah, we need to up the quality score. And we were laughing as we're saying that because they were doing a squeeze page 6 months ago and they were paying $1 plus per click.
Wow.
So what happens? We're giving people content. When they land on the page, we're remarketing to them through Google, GDN Network. We remarket to them through AdRoll, remarket to them through Facebook. And interestingly enough, I think one of the best thing, and dude, you're certainly a master at this. I think one of the best things we can do as marketers is really start studying human, going back to look at, when marketing was pretty much, I'm sending out a piece of mail. I spent money. We have to understand everything we do has a cost to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have to look at that. Okay, if it costs me, let's say 50 cents to get you to read my article, and then I'm going to retarget you for another $1 to get an opt-in. And every retargeting click is 10 cents. Maybe it takes you 10 clicks. It doesn't make a difference. But the reality of it is when you look at that from the standpoint of the user, they're like, hey, I've seen you. I read something. You're valuable. Oh, I see your face all over the place. You must be valuable. My gosh, you have value. You offer to solve a problem that I need. And that's what it takes. Right.
Yeah, that's a great. I love that. I want to make sure we emphasize that and everybody drinks that in. If and this is what it is with paid traffic, but think of it like every piece of communication costs you, let's say 50 cents to send an email to somebody, $1 to get them to read, give you an email or read your content, to reach out and contact you. However you want to add that up, how much more effort would you put into what you put in front of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, you're referencing the days of old school mail, hard mail, where it's mind-blowing to think that those guys used to take months to create a campaign, and it was all guesswork until they put the thing in the mail, and then it was like a 2-week wait to get some results back, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine sitting on your hands and like pins and needles for 2 whole weeks waiting to wonder if this thing's going to connect or not? Now we get like results by noon. It's crazy.
It's funny. Like one of my favorite books is $1 Million Mailings. I love looking through that and looking at the types of packages they sent. And, if you were to say, hey, you can create as marketers, we often think, well, I'll create something today and get results today. Yeah. Those guys, they literally put everything on the line for, obviously big results. But I think that we often overlook it's the offer to the right person in the right moment. And this is a great example. I've already had 2 Mustangs and I want a third one. So I tell my wife, I want a Shelby GT 500. End of the day, I want a 500. She's like, okay, that's fine. Let's talk about this. And, I've gone to the Ford lot and they're like, we got a GT. I don't want a GT. Screw the GT. I want the 500. But the GT, so literally it's I'm at the right moment. I have the money for it. I want to buy it. But the offer, even just if your offer is off just slightly.
Yeah.
2 stripes. Yeah. And like I told the guy, he's like, it's fast. I'm like, I don't care if it's fast. I want the GT 500. And he's like, but this is a GT and I'm like, no, literally. And that's the thing that I think we totally missed the boat on.
Right. Give people exactly what they want.
Exactly. And same thing when you're writing your ad copy and you're setting up your paid traffic. If your ad's up here and you're talking about, it's the who and the what. And this is just a classic. I absolutely love this. If I could give you one piece of advice that really made a big difference for me, that I could say, okay, I can look at something and say, it is a difference. Whenever we're sitting here creating ads, there are a lot of ways to do it. But at the end of the day, I always think that my prospects absolutely hate my guts with an amazing passion. They don't want to buy from me. In fact, I'm just nothing more than I'm going to just call it, a sore on their everyday life. I don't ever take for granted people like me, want to hear from me or anything else. I have to, every day I'm thinking I've got to prove myself to them that I've got value, that there's value in what I provide them, and that they should open the email and read it. Or, whatever the case may be, that the offer has value. I think so many marketers well, I wrote an ad and it's good. No, it's weird because when we're doing testing, have you used a product called Ad Espresso?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's absolutely cool. One of the coolest products I've ever used. We will literally roll out 5 or 6 different images, and we will roll out maybe 15 different headlines. So we're rolling these things out, and it's quite a few combinations. When you look at it, let's just say it runs for a day. When we look at it, there will be one headline and one image matched up. The click rate may be 7 or 8%. The other images may be struggling at 1, below 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. There may be a 4% there. All it takes is the right combination, and everything works. Most people make the mistake of well, I wrote it so it's good. I always tell people, whatever you think you've got, test it until you've got valid data, and data I trust. Everything else is an opinion.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. The data just doesn't lie.
Yes.
Well, great point. And so this kind of leads me into where I wanted to ask you next is, I hear about people running, Facebook campaigns to test things like even report titles or book titles, simple stuff like that before you decide, things that you need to verify to make sure that the offer is going to connect. What advice do you have for those kind of practices?
Test a boatload of anything. It's weird because using Power Editor, which I cannot stand with a passion, I despise the Facebook interface. Because it means I got to go into Facebook and get bombarded with people I know asking questions, and and then you're fighting because, my gosh, who does he think he is? He can't say that about my candidate. So I often have to stay off of Facebook. We use Ad Espresso because I can bypass the interface of Facebook.
Okay.
But one of the things we do is literally when we're doing something, we will roll out 5 or 6 variations just to see what people say. And we're always trying to resonate. Once we find it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I think so many people I ran a campaign and it sucked. Well, guess what? Every campaign sucks at the first. There are few things out of the gate that actually work. And few is really an understatement. So what I ended up typically doing is rolling out, okay, what are the components that would, let's just say that we've got an ad. We're going to test out headline, report title, body copy. We're going to test out the image. Then we're rotating out landing pages, offer headlines, call to actions, colors, image, everything. None of that's really that difficult to set up. Where most people, and this is going to get a little advanced, and I hope I don't lose anybody in the weeds. What happens if I click your ad twice and come back to the landing page? 2 or 3 times happens, or I'll bookmark the page and then I'll look at it on my mobile device. The thing that we don't understand is we're running traffic for desktop, newsfeed, right-hand side. We've got mobile, we've got iPads, we've got Androids. Every one of those devices will display ads differently. I mean, the way you see an ad on a desktop is very different than how you see the ad on a mobile device. We have to totally understand what is the modality and what is the concept of the user at that specific slice of time. So on a mobile device at 12 o'clock, you're probably in a subway, you're flipping through your email, you're ordering a sub, it's loud, you can't really hear a whole lot. You're eating your sub, flipping through something, probably not in the mode to whip out a credit card at, Subway and buy. It is what it is. Now, come 7 o'clock on the mobile phone, you're home, maybe sitting in a recliner, finishing up a meal, you're flipping through the phone. What happens on a Saturday at 12 o'clock? Well, guess what? You're probably relaxing. The thing that most people make the mistake of is not understanding there's a different user intent with every device. There's a different user intent with the time. So this is a better example. User intent, as we covered on a mobile device during lunch, is I'm busy, I'm just kind of skimming through things. If you're using an iPad 9 o'clock at night, sitting in front of TV watching Alton Brown, and you decide to Google something and they see the ad, on an iPad, iPads are more akin to a laptop than they are a mobile device. The user intent of buying is completely different then. And that's where I think a lot of people make the mistake. Also, we have to look at, is the user a return user? Is the user a return user, and is he returning with the same device? Is he returning with a mobile device? Is he returning on a desktop? We will basically use mobile ads to drop the retargeting cookies. And more importantly, with Facebook, it's not necessarily the cookie world. It's more of what is your user ID. So if you come to me on a mobile and then you're on your desktop, you'll still see the same retargeting ads. And what becomes important and where we really get down into the crazy weeds, if you come back on a mobile device, we have to treat that very differently. The checkout's different, the user
Yeah.
experiences. And when you hit with a desktop, you know what? You're most likely streaming at the very least some DSL. You're probably hitting 4 or 5, maybe, 10, depending on where you're at. You're on a mobile device, you may have 3G. You may not even have 3G, depending on your location.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to keep all that in mind. And we need to, like, when you hit a mobile page, we need to be able to turn certain elements off on mobile devices
Right.
that we don't have to do on desktops. And that's a completely different mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the one thing if you want to even take this a little further, you can do personalization, which I think very few people are doing it, which I will tell you my clients are doing it who are freaking out over it. Let's just say that you come to the site and it's raining outside. Well, guess what? You come to the site at 9 p.m. Good evening. How are you doing? If you've already opted in, I can start displaying your name into my website copy. If you haven't opted in, I'm not going to tell you good evening, but I can at least tell you what the weather is, and I can tell you what time of day. I also know what device you're using. Based on what device you're using, I'll show you a completely different website user experience than you do for desktop.
Wow.
And and none of that is particularly difficult. Technology is already here to the point where if you come to the site and you've already let's just say purchased more than $1,000, I'm going to use that as an arbitrary number. I can show you different offers based on your purchase, tying back in my CRM, than if you're here and you've never purchased anything.
Right.
And that's where you start getting, like, you take the personalization to a totally different standpoint.
Right. Wow. That's intense, man. Love it. Great. Yeah, because this really brings to mind the most important stuff that we know that, mobile is driving traffic and that things like video are successful on mobile, and we have to factor all these things in. So, Charles, is it the kind of situation where you create one effective, say, landing page website, and then you make sure that it's able to adjust to the platform that somebody's experiencing it on? Or
Yes.
So it's just starts with one, and then you're basically just removing stuff that's going to inhibit the process, say, for mobile or even iPad, a tablet.
Absolutely. We can even adjust. And let's say you come back to the site. I can show you a different exit pod based on what pages you visited the first time you were at the site.
Yeah.
So I even know what you're interacting with. I know how long you've interacted with it. I know the devices that you're using when you're coming back to it. So what happens, you can basically create a dynamic experience. So let's just say that we're going back to the coaching consulting page. Our offer is, I'm just going to make this offer up. Our offer is $24,000 a year for, I don't know, once a week coaching for $2,000 per month. Well, you've been to the page. You've already been to You've seen the video, you've seen the content, you went to the consultation page. You did not fill out a consultation. When you come back to the page, the home page, I can dynamically put a consultation call to action right there above the header. I can also say, are you hesitant, why are you hesitating to, give us a call? What's holding you back? I can actually show a dynamic survey asking you, what is the biggest hurdle you have to signing up for a coaching consultation? And when you start looking at it that way, and I'll tell you, we think, my gosh, that's creepy and that's stalkerish, and I would never interact with somebody like that. Maybe, maybe not, but most of the time we're not our buyers. We're not our buyers. Our buyers are there because of one thing, they've got a problem to solve.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the problem is. They're trying to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So by using something that is dynamic personalization, the ads on the page will be different. What you've done, in fact, you've already opted in. The fact that you've already seen the video. So when you come back to the video, I'm not going to show you a pop-up for, hey, would you like to watch the video? You've already seen it. I'm going to show you a pop-up for, why are you not taking us up on the consultation?
Right.
And we could even start, dynamically putting in, like, you go to the homepage, it's like, hey, this is Charles. I just want to say thank you for watching the video. I realize that's a big deal, but for whatever reason, I noticed you haven't filled out that consultation. Now, it could be a number of things holding you back. Maybe it's the cost. Maybe it is you don't believe you're right for it. There are a lot of things, but why don't we get on the phone and just try to figure this out together? And but you can do that based on the fact the user's been there. I can show ads dynamically. Then all of a sudden, because of that, we start feeding that dynamic data back into Facebook. So when you go into Facebook, like this is just a classic example. Every time I see it, I want to scream. How many times have you seen like auto webinar, evergreen webinar, stealth, that make any difference? The platforms are great. You visit the page, the webinar is starting today, like in 5 minutes or in 15 minutes or in an hour. Then you go back to Facebook and they're retargeting you with the same ad. Okay, you couldn't sign up to see an evergreen webinar that's starting in 15 minutes. Why do you think 5 minutes later my life is? I mean,
right.
But yet we see the same thing.
Right.
We need to go. Okay, you didn't sign up for the webinar. It starts in an hour. When you go back into Facebook, you need to see. Hey, guess what? Would you like to sign up for tomorrow's webinar, the next day? Certainly, probably not. If they're not watching a replay, and they didn't sign up for the one starting in 15 minutes, their life has not. They didn't grab a time machine from Doctor Who and just visit. We have to keep that in mind. That if you're showing an evergreen webinar and it happens to be like 2 p.m. Eastern time, guess what? I probably see the ad. I clicked on the ad. I'm at work. I probably can't watch it. I got to go pick up the kids at 2:30. I've got to take my mom somewhere. I got to go to the doctor. I can't. People don't want to start and stop anything.
Yeah, good point.
So make a point of showing them a evergreen webinar that is for tomorrow, for the next day.
Right.
And then if they, don't take action, well, show them a replay page.
Yeah.
Screw the evergreen. Just go ahead and, let them watch an on-demand replay, which, interestingly enough, dude, that's actually doing really well for us.
Mm-hmm. Just get the eyeballs, right? I mean, it's all we're looking for. Is the first. I always say that the most valuable thing anybody can pay us up front is attention.
Yes.
And the more care you put into understanding the scenario they're in when they're engaging with your offer to give them attention, then the better you're going to be. So, all right, these are great tips, amazing ways that we can be more dynamic in our reach, in our traffic buys. But Charles, if somebody's sitting there listening to this and they're saying, "All right, you've just blown my mind. I'm scared. I'm more scared now than I was because it sounds like I have 100 more things to worry about than I did before." Like, what's the minimum viable product for them to start running some traffic and seeing some results?
At this point, forget about the personalization, forget about any of that. Just get your core, get the demographics down, get your age, get the sex, get your demographics, get their ultimate desires, their ultimate things that they fear the most. Literally get an article up. I mean, if you're telling me, I'll tell you this, for better or worse, we'll go to Text Broker and we'll pay $50 to get an article written. Mm-hmm. And, a 1,000-word article by somebody in who knows where, it doesn't make a difference. Get that article back, throw it on your blog, just put some good looking images, make it look good, make it feel good, make it flow. Set that up and just go ahead and start driving traffic to it. I mean, we're talking traffic to blog content is like, you're paying 20, 21, 20. If you pay 30 cents per click, you're probably overpaying. And the only thing you want to do on day one, let's just say we've got a $10 budget. Let's go ahead and throw this $10 budget out. We're rotating images and ad copy. At this point, we don't even care about the article. The article is there as a placeholder. Mm-hmm. We're trying to see which headline, which body copy, what resonated. Mm-hmm. Because so many people are obsessed with, well, my article's not right. Screw your article. I just want to see.
Can we get anyone there?
Right. Test one is the ad even working? Is the copy working? Once you've got people clicking through the article, guess what? You're only out of $10.
Yeah.
The next step is, okay, now we found the best ad copy. We found the best headline. We're always going to be rotating, always trying to do better. We found the best audience. At that point, it really comes down to, okay, they're engaging with the copy. The next thing is, are they how I know this is weird. When people land on the page, you can use Google Analytics. There are other companies that do this. What percentage of those people are bouncing? A great product is called Hotjar. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a porn site. Go to the hotjar.com. But go to Hotjar, get a free 14-day trial, whatever the case may be, and you can look at like a heat map. How are people interacting with your page? So you can say, okay, are they hitting the page? If they're not even scrolling down to your call to action, that just means you need to beef up your copy. Right. There's nothing wrong with the traffic source because at this point, you've rotated through a couple audiences. You've rotated through, headlines, images. you just rotate through the body copy until you find one that's resonating. And often that's just done by modifying the subheads because people subhead, call to action. Maybe I'm going to do that or not. Who knows? And at that point, then you're just trying to say, okay, let's optimize our, in this case, intake form, our consultation offer could be, and this is just a classic example. We see often people use the video with a call to action below, woo forms or, like a gravity form or something, just fill this thing out. Mm-hmm. And the thing you have to understand is a certain percentage of those people will fill it out, but split test everything.
Yeah.
And split testing is extremely, you can use Optimizely, which is completely free for like up to 10,000 visits or actions, which, you don't have to worry about. Just rotate through that, look at what people are doing, and create two of everything. Because I always say the first one I create sucks, and that way you're split testing everything down the line. And then at that point, it's only a function of, okay, this is the ad, this is the landing page that works, this is the call to action that works, this is the video of me saying why you should, put in a consultation. None of that is difficult to do. And this is the problem that I find plagues every marketer on the planet. Technical things are difficult to learn, but they're very easy to outsource.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I don't want to know how to set up Optimizely. I can go to Fiverr and get it done. I can go to Elance. I can go anywhere and get that kind of stuff done.
Yeah, right.
The biggest value is what are you presenting? What is your offer? What is the offer that people are resonating with? Right. So once you've got that done, it's just a function of working through it. Now, one thing I did not discuss, which I should have, was picking the right audience. Mm-hmm. And this is where I think a lot of people make the mistake. Most people, you go into Facebook and it's like, oh, Ryan Dice, Frank Kern. The reality of it is, even though, they certainly have an overlap, they actually go to two different audiences. Ryan, it's interesting. Ryan's appeal is typically to people that want to build a much bigger business, multiple employees, they see the, traffic and conversion stuff. They see all this stuff. It has a different user intent than Frank Kern going, hey, would you like consulting clients?
Right.
Even though they're both in, let's just say, online marketing, the digital space, they have a different intent.
Right. So you're thinking of any name of people you follow that you think, your audience would be interested in.
Absolutely.
But they're not the same.
Absolutely. And I see so many people when they're setting up stuff, they go, well, we're targeting Marketo or HubSpot. Okay, HubSpot they got 2 million likes. They're like the content monster of the internet. Mm-hmm. People who like any kind of digital advertising probably like HubSpot. So I see people like, well, we target HubSpot. Well, yeah, that's a broad audience. On the same token, I see people targeting Marketo. Marketo is like $100,000 a year B2B solution, and they're targeting people with a internet marketing, make money online page. The guy who likes Marketo is probably in a suit, going to an office all day, or at least he's going to an office. If they're willing to spend $100,000 on a software solution, they're probably not buying your email list building class. As a general rule of thumb, they're not buying that.
Right.
Another example of this is I see a lot of people go, well, we'll target Infusionsoft because Infusionsoft users pay at least $300 per month, and therefore that's we're going to target those people. Well, Aweber has a free trial for $1, I think. I'm not even sure what GetResponse has. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, an Infusionsoft user is exponentially different than an Aweber user. The Infusionsoft user, he's paying $300 per month. He's probably running some type of business. And there's nothing wrong with Aweber. I think Aweber is a great product. But as a general rule, you probably aren't going to see some guy doing $5 million a year running Aweber. Right. It has, even though you could, it's just as a general rule, the user intent of each one of those desires or those interests are completely different.
Right.
And people just want to lump them together.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. Same thing, just as another example of this, when I say Aweber, and I don't know what you use, what comes to mind when you think of Aweber?
I think just email exchange, but I mean I went from Aweber to Infusion, so I don't know if I'm a good person to ask. But what I think, the reason I moved on is because I can tag, I can segment, I can do those things.
Absolutely. Same here. We've had an Infusionsoft, but we've been using Entreport for years. But same concept. Mm-hmm. I left Aweber because they got banned from something else, but that was a whole new story. But I left because it's the same thing with GetResponse. It's like I needed automation, I
Yeah.
needed advanced API stuff,
Right.
I needed stuff that I could not get. If you look at the Aweber users, most of them are like sending broadcast emails, some basic follow-ups.
Right.
They're not the guys that have 25 evergreen webinars going with a shopping cart with one-click upsells, with integration, with tags, APIs feeding back into Facebook. That's not that user. So you have to understand the intent of that user and what that's really worth to you.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And,
Great
and
point.
so I think that's a big issue. And we have a lot of people who go, well, we're going to target Tim Ferriss. Oh, okay. Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, the cook, the
Right.
athlete,
The adventurer. Yeah. Right. Like who are you after here? Yeah.
so we have to make sure that when we're targeting these people, if you do target those people, overlay those audiences with something else. As a classic example, we could say target Tim Ferriss, and they must also like the 4-Hour Work Week. You can do and or the operations, and then it's like you go from 20 gazillion down to a small group of people. You
Right.
can also go into Facebook and behavior targeting, and what you can say is, you know what? They must own a house, have a college education. They must also have, make more than $150,000 per year. So what happens, we found that only 10% of your audience, you only want 10% of your audience anywhere. So if we were to create, let's just say Aweber, we could start a campaign with just Aweber. We probably, and I'm going to make this number up, say 1 million people. Well, when we start targeting, must make more than $100,000 a year, has a home office, and maybe a college education, and they must also like, I don't know, insert whatever target you want to use. You're probably down to maybe 80 or 90,000 people, and people get so upset. Well, Charles, it's the audience is too small, and as you get a smaller audience, you pay more. But I want to pay more for the right people. It's not I see people get all excited because they go, "Oh, we must target 1 million people or 2 million." No, it's if it's 2 million of the right people,
Yeah.
go for it.
Right.
But usually, anytime you pick an audience, there's only about 10% of those people that are probably your target audience anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah. Great point. All right. So the big takeaways here, understand your audience. Don't lump sort of random authority names into it. Really understand, segment through the tool exactly what qualifies someone as your best prospect. You only want 10% of your overall audience. That's a result of that sort of segmentation. Yep. Eliminate the people you don't want looking at your ads. That's a huge money saver, I would imagine. And
Yes.
Understand the flow, right? Like if you can test. One thing you said that really struck me, Charles, is that it's almost backwards of the way I hear a lot of people talk of it. The idea of just, first of all, prove the ad, right?
Yes.
Make sure that the image and the copy is correct on the ad. You can do that for about $10 a day, and then worry about making sure that your article delivers what the ad that's proven successful is promising, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one big thing, if I could give anybody any takeaway that has made me more money than anything else, is what is the modality of your target audience? How does Ryan Dice sell? Do you see Ryan on a lot of videos? Do you see him doing webinars, or do you see sales letters?
I see sales letters.
How do you see Frank selling? Sales letters, videos?
Videos.
Okay. If I'm a video watcher, when I see Ryan Dice's sales letter, I'm like, man, I don't want to read this. I want to see Kern on a video. If you are a reader, you look at Frank Kern, can't this dude speed this stuff up? I just want to know the offer and I want to buy.
Right.
It's interesting because both of those, like when we're targeting those people, we target Frank Kern buyers or Frank Kern fans with video. We target Ryan Dice people with sales letters. Like when we're selling a $7 product, we go after Ryan Dice's because he's, he's
the tripwire. Yeah.
He's got those people conditioned that $7 is the number that makes everything in the world work. And he's a brilliant marketer and somebody I highly respect. And it's funny because if you look at Ryan's marketing, it's pretty much, I've got a product, it's launching, it's closing. Why are you not buying? Here's the countdown. Take away. It's gone. Or there's the certification aspect of it. If you look at Frank's stuff, it's like, here's a webinar. Here's an indoctrination sequence. buy my stuff. And granted, they're selling two different, opposite ways. End of the day, it doesn't matter how you sell. It's just a matter that I think that you are selling is probably the more important thing. But look at the modality to which they sell.
Yeah.
Evergreen webinars work great for Frank's people. I really haven't had a lot of success with evergreen webinar with Ryan's people.
Interesting.
Even though there's a certain overlap between them, I think they have just become accustomed to buying products based on how they're sold to.
Mm-hmm. So they know that they're already convinced of the quality. They can kind of scan around a sales letter, decide, yep, this is for me, take action, move on with their day. Frank's people want to hang out in Frank's world for a chunk of their day and then really get excited about what he's offering.
Absolutely. A classic example, somebody we both love and admire, James Stramko.
Mm-hmm.
I love listening to his podcast. I'm like, damn, why I can't be that smart? But I love listening to his podcast because he's always but that is the modality. It's here's a podcast, go take action on it. The modality is audio. Then you get to the sales letter. It's like, join Silver Circle, join Super Fast Business. But you don't see James going, let me do a webinar for 3 hours and do a live video hangout and in front of the white. You don't see that. And therefore, like trying to do like evergreen webinars to James's people, it hasn't worked for us. His people are more at least for us, are more auditory. We've done better presenting audio and podcasts to these people. As a side note, make the greatest podcast you can that sells living daylights out of stuff. You can advertise podcast in Google for like next to nothing.
Really interesting.
Because when they look at it, it's like, here's a podcast, here's a transcript. It's like, this is content. We're good to go with content. Content is good.
I like that. So basically, we could do a whole nother call on that. But what are the, you obviously don't want your podcast to sound like you're reading a sales letter.
Mm-hmm.
So what works there? Is it like an interview format? Is it just more of a casual presentation?
What we've done is just do like the casual interview. Like, hey, this is Charles. Today we've got the guys from Ad Espresso in here because we're promoting Ad Espresso. We've got the guys from Ad Espresso. These guys rock. Let's talk about how Ad Espresso can make your life better.
Yeah.
And literally it's just you're doing, the Q&A to it. At the end, grab it, get that puppy transcribed, get it cleaned up, throw it on your blog. Google sees it. I mean, who's not going to, Google's like, oh, it's a transcript.
Right.
It's audio and it's a transcript for Ad Espresso. Okay, that's cool. We don't have a problem with that. So literally, and naturally it's an affiliate offer, by the way, but interestingly enough, Google doesn't, as long as you're providing value, Google for the most part doesn't really care. As long as you're providing value in a good user experience. And guess what? Good user, you watch the podcast, it's a great user experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. Man, fantastic. Charles, you're a gold mine. This has been super valuable, way over the top, dude. You just deliver. I really appreciate it.
Dude, I got to be good for something.
Wait, did you ever get the GT500? That's the burning question here.
No, it's interesting. I wanted the GT500. A while back, they came out with the GT350, which was actually faster than the 500. And my problem, I've already had two Mustangs, and I know this is going to sound weird. I want a 61 Lincoln Continental drop top with the suicide doors.
Oh, yeah.
I want the original white. I want the original hubcaps. I want the original. Granted, I want to put a set of probably 18s on it, but it's really interesting. Is the older I get, the less I'm impressed with faster cars.
Yeah.
I know that's weird because I've had two Mustangs that both of them were fast, but more. It's like I'm really gravitating to the older cars.
Well, you're like, when you get older, it's like kind of the get off my lawn phase. And big cars are like, hey, give me my space.
Yes.
Nobody cuts off the big car, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've got my wife, and interestingly, the GT500 and the 61 Lincoln convertible we're talking about, really about the same price. There's not a big difference in it. So I am at the process of trying to convince my wife to get me that.
Love it. Well, anything I do to help, let me know. I'll send her a card.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling. I'm like, it's a bigger car, it's safer. Surely these small little. It's funny because I like big cars, but I drive a small car. I like little teeny. It's weird. Like I drive a Honda Civic from 2004, 2000. Thing it doesn't even have 100,000 miles on it, so you can tell I drive a lot.
Typical entrepreneur. Yeah. You look up and go, I haven't been out of the house in 3 days. I'll go to the store. Can I
Yes,
please? I just want to see other people.
yeah, and it's like kind of like I need that in a shower. My gosh, I smell myself. Oh, what have I done? That is definitely the typical entrepreneur. And dude, I just want to say, dude, Ben, just thank you for letting me be on the call.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it. You were great as I imagined, and let's do it again soon.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in Truth About Marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve your sales copy with templates, formulas, coaching, feedback, or hiring a pro, do all that on the inside of the members area of copychief.com. And I will look for you there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.